Sunday talks about sex, baby. Sunday talks about you and me. Sunday talks about all the things pertaining to living with HIV. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Okay.
That was a big word to the pertaining to the documents. Yeah.
So it is Sunday, and what are people doing on Sundays?
We talking about sex.
I got it right. I got it right. Finally, it took 8 episodes, baby, but you got it. Finally, we are talking about sex. There may be people that are watching that are doing things around sex, but that's your business. That's your business, and we ain't mad at you. But
even on Sunday,
yeah, we're just gonna talk about sex today. Today's show is a little bit different. It's our wrap up for season 1. We have pulled in some of the friends and fam to have a discussion around all things HIV. It's our wrap-up show. So we're going to talk a little bit about HIV from a variety of perspectives, from the dating perspective, from the single perspective, from the dating someone that is living with HIV perspective. So we're going to cover a little bit of everything today. I don't feel like we need to introduce ourselves again.
I want to.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Tell the people who you are.
I am Tommy Dennis, and I am the outreach coordinator at Nebraska AIDS Project.
Come on, outreach coordinator. I am Pastor Darrell Brown Jr., founding senior pastor of Kingdom Builders Christian Center, as well as the testing specialist at Nebraska AIDS Project. So I think we would probably do good to start right here to my right, since we're introducing ourselves. Let's just go on around the room here. Let's start to the right with my partner that I'll let introduce himself.
Great. My name is Will, and I spell that with 1 L. I'm the great, awesome behind the scenery to this one right here. Speaking from the dating with someone with HIV on Travada's perspective.
All right. We're going to dig into that in a minute. Talk to us, Eric. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Songbird.
Hey, man. My name is Eric. I work. Just a job. Nothing crazy. I be singing. And that's what most people know me for. And I am here speaking from the perspective of someone who does not have HIV and is navigating his way around that thing.
Yes, indeed. That part right there. Talk to us, Anthony.
Hello, my name is Anthony PreHIV. I'm an actor, dancer, all that jazz. The triple threat, as they like to say. And I'm here speaking from the same perspective as Eric, just someone navigating this gay life.
Come on. Let's hear from the youth. The youngins are in the house. One of my children is in the house. Talk to us, Fonte.
Hi, I'm here giving the young adult a special regarding HIV. Not living with it, but just navigating through it.
My son said he's special. He gives HIV special, baby. That's what he said.
Special.
So this is so we're coming today having a conversation about all of these different perspectives of navigating HIV, whether we are people living with HIV, people that are not living with HIV, that are trying to keep it that way, trying to talk about what that looks like. So let's just kind of dive in and first talk about when is the first time you all remember like HIV becoming a prevalent topic for you? Like, when did HIV become a thing to even discuss? Anybody jump in? Ooh.
So the first time that I ever officially, historically ever heard of HIV was in human growth. I don't remember what grade, probably high school. I want to say high school. When we had the whole STD talks. I would say that shortly after that is when I actually had the fully realized moment, when I found out that someone in my family was living with it, and that's when it kind of hit home for me, and that's when I really started to think about what HIV was and how it affects people, and so that I would say I was 15 when I took my human growth class, and I was about 16 when I found out that this family member was living with HIV.
Okay, let's dive into that a little bit. So at 15, I ain't trying to get all deep in your business, but at 15, were you navigating your sexuality at all?
Oh, for sure.
Okay,
for sure.
All right.
I was peep-popping that thing young.
Got it. Noted.
I was about 14, 15 when I was introduced to Adam for Adam.
Oh.
And so
we could have some conversations around that.
History.
Okay.
And so I was on the site. It's kind of young.
Got it. Trying to catch
yes.
somebody in case.
By that time, I had been exploring my sexual self.
Okay, I got it. Anybody else care to chime in on when HIV kind of became a thing for you? When, like, you remember, like, I remember hearing about this. I remember this becoming a moment for me.
I had a family member pass from like AIDS. Yeah, that was definitely my introduction to it, like as a real life concept versus just like something I heard about in school.
Got it.
I would say I was 16 then, so that was definitely like my first exposure and my first education of any kind as far as like the care that goes into treating AIDS. I know that may be a little bit different, you know what I mean, as far as what they do with it, but that was definitely my first experience or someone that I knew that was affected.
I thank you for sharing that. That's super vulnerable. Appreciate that. We go ahead, friend. I feel something bubbling up all in your soul.
Well, you know, for me, like I'll say, like I think that is something that happens a lot of times. Is like, you know, I think you and Anthony's story is like unique because like you actually had like an experience or a connection with people who were navigating HIV. For me though, I will say like HIV, I didn't hear about HIV like similarly like I heard about it in Human Growth.
Mm-hmm.
But even then like it was really glossed over. Like you know, you don't get the full scope of HIV in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm being honest, like I always knew like HIV was like this thing that I should try to avoid, but like it really didn't become real for me until I was diagnosed.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Gotcha.
How old were you, if you don't mind?
23.
Okay, so pretty young.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, with me, I think on the panel, I'm probably the only non-Omaha native right now. So where I'm from, it was totally different, and I'm probably the oldest too.
Probably.
We're claiming that today. All right.
So with that being said, not too much.
Yeah.
Man.
Not too much.
Full transparency for the show.
Not too much.
Come on, talk to the people.
But so what I'm getting at is that where I'm from and the time era, which is probably not even too much among
okay.
But anywho's, where I'm from, it was real. I mean, it was actually a title of a person's name. They was like, oh, you got the boss man, because it was a guy named Boss Man, and he was known to have had not just HIV, but AIDS. You know, and he was passing it around, and he was one of them, the ones that was messed with the DL ones, you know, the ones who was going around and giving it. So to me, at the age 11, 12, or 13, it was serious where I was from. You know what I'm saying? So by the time we got into human development, which is about 8th or 9th grade, you know what I'm saying, 7th or 8th grade, when we got into those type of classes, we was already like, yeah, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, yep, and then what you gotta do to do this, you know what I'm saying? Then good, here's, you know, and they was passing out condoms. It's still the same era to where we were able to actually be able to walk around with the eggs and things like that. So to be aware of HIV, where I'm from, was just like to be aware of teen pregnancy, is what I'm trying to get out. So it was kind of totally different.
Gotcha. So you was exposed early.
Very early. Very early.
Early on. There's so many topics that I wanna talk about the boss man and the nickname piece.
I was gonna say really quick. I just want to jump in on
Yeah.
that kind of topic of the whole like being exposed early. So this same family member, I've known them like my whole life. And what's funny is like looking back, they were clearly dealing with HIV, like through most of the time that I knew them. And like looking back, I didn't know that, but like looking back now, I'm like, I see this, and I acknowledge this, and I know this. So maybe I was exposed a little bit younger than I realized. I just
Tell me more. I would love to hear just a smidgen without revealing any like identifying factors or personal factors. Like, what were some things that, as you look back, you're like, oh, I see that this might have been a thing for you.
Well, knowing that one, medication has come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for this person, medication was a big thing for them. They were like, I don't want to take all these pills.
Got it.
I don't want to have to wake up and take a pill in the morning, take a pill in the afternoon, take a pill at night, and then wake up in the middle of the night. I might have to take a pill. Like, they were like very over pills.
Mm.
And then kind of looking back and just realizing their overall caution with their health and how they like navigated certain situations and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just for you, I just think that thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because like I think that really kind of highlights a conversation that we had earlier this season when we were talking about medication fatigue and we discussed how HIV looks different in different people.
Yeah.
Like it's not just one thing. One
thing,
telltale sign.
one tell-all sign.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. I also wanted to circle back to the boss man piece and like the stigma that we see associated in our communities with HIV, right? Like, I heard you say like it even like him being known to have dealt a lot with DL men and like even that narrative around DL men makes my skin crawl.
Yes.
Because when we talk about DL men, the first thing that comes to mind
Black man.
is the black man that is not out about his sexuality. But nobody really thinks about DL in the context of a white gay man or anything other than a black gay man that is not out of the closet. So like all of those stigmatizing pieces I think about that come up because, and the reason I bring them up is because I think they matter when we talk about HIV, like, and how it impacts our culture, specifically black, gay, and bisexual men, or just men who have sex with men, because everybody doesn't identify as gay or bisexual or what have you, but just men who have sex with men, and the way that HIV has carried like this heavy layer of stigma with it, and just how we treat it overall, which kind of leads into our next little question that I'd love to hear from you all, is how has HIV impacted the way you move? How has it impacted like the way you conduct yourself? So like Fonte, I know you're a young adult. I know y'all in a whole situation back here. Y'all cubbies. You understand? We've been together. We pushing a year. We pushing it, y'all. On the first. We pushing it. We on the way.
Happy anniversary.
Come on the first.
Oh, so y'all had declared
That
that
New Year, baby.
on the
Huh?
Gotcha.
Okay.
And so, another conversation for another day. I'm going to do this with y'all. So, that being said,
And before you finish that thought, I want you all to just kind of think of it in terms of like what measures you take when engaging in sex. Like what measures aren't you taking? If PrEP has ever been a conversation, are condoms a continuous conversation? So kind of think about that when you as you prepare yourself to answer.
So here's my thing, all right, because I want to kind of like, I want to touch base on both of the questions, elaborate a little bit about the whole DL things. First of all, they need to get thrown out the window. DL, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Go
Some of the glass closet doors.
because I've been around the world, I've seen a lot of faces, been in a lot of places, and I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. You still doing what you do with the same sex. Period, point blank. There's no DL to it at all. So to touch on that topic, here's my thing. I'd rather be with somebody knowing what they have and be able to protect myself than to be like my previous 2 relationships and wind up being like, what the heck? The whole damn time, and y'all, somebody who I entrusted with all of this. That's why, again, it's very important that when you lay down or you get ready to be in a committed relationship with somebody, to go get tested. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because just because they say I love you, that don't mean a damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing at all, because it would take 9 years later to find out that this person has been living with HIV this whole time, and by the grace of God, you know what I'm saying? They've been taking their meds, or the one prior wasn't taking meds, but God saved you. But now here you are with one who you know what you are, you're able to protect yourself with a medicine like Truvada, or be able to have an open relationship or an open dialogue with this person to be able to understand what's what.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You said Truvada, so let's talk about Precautions. So as our audience should know by now, I'm living with HIV. And so I did disclose to my partner early on that I was living with HIV, so he was well aware of that. As a precaution, it was a goal of mine to continue to take my antiretroviral medications to be sure that I could obtain an undetectable status, undetectable viral load status, and which we have talked a million times, but we might as well lift it up again. U equals U, right?
Undetectable equals
untransmittable. So
I had this argument on Twitter the other day.
listen, it's science.
It's science.
The science is here. And so for those that have reached that undetectable status, as far as their viral load, they cannot transmit the virus to their partner. So that was sexually, very important.
Yes.
Sexually, so that was a very important piece for me, was to take my meds as required, for myself. Yeah, before it's for anybody else, for myself. I want me to be healthy. You understand?
Yes.
And then beyond that, because it impacts those that I am in relationship with. So I wanted to be my most healthy self for whomever I would be dating. And so I disclosed early on, and Will made the decision that he was going to get to PrEP, which, by the way, shameless plug. Who's your PrEP provider? Huh? Now, Nebraska AIDS Project. You can't say it that soft. You can't say it with love.
Nebraska AIDS Project.
How? Because we have a PrEP clinic.
Yeah.
Now, that's the one.
That's bad.
That's what we need. And so, thank you, East St. Louis. And so, he got on PrEP as another layer of protective measures for us to just ensure, because in all honesty, in all reality, I'm going to see a doctor every 6 months.
Yeah.
So in between time, there is still the potential for, even though I'm taking my medication, my viral load could shift.
Yeah.
And so that having PrEP as an added layer of protection
On top of condoms.
has been an important measure for us.
And I think like we're having a lot of good conversation around PrEP. But as far as like the Black gay community, we've had this conversation. Like PrEP just isn't where it needs to be. Like the uptake, the intake, and that's partially because it was marketed heavily towards white gay men. But all that to say that we have a long way to go, because still like PrEP numbers for Black gay men are like low nationally.
Absolutely, very low. And like you said, a lot of it has to do with awareness.
Yeah.
Many don't understand or know about PrEP.
I agree with that.
Let's
I agree on that.
Well, talk to us, son,
Yeah.
about the measures as the young adult in the room, as the youngin' in the room, the measures that you're taking, be that condom use or whatever that looks like for you to try to maintain your HIV negative status.
Well, I think as a young adult dealing with and navigating HIV, for someone who has sex, I think protecting ourselves is very vital. Whether that's putting on a condom, taking a pill, some of us might even be embarrassed to take the pill. Some of us might be embarrassed to put on a condom because we just like, oh, I don't want to feel that rubber. Regardless, it's still important because you got those consequences that come without not using that protection.
Absolutely. There is a risk factor. Barrier methods are important, and/or medication methods, and/or getting tested together. Let's talk to the couple.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the couple back here. What's the ways in which the cubbies are navigating the experience of trying to maintain an HIV negative status for yourselves?
Yeah. Well, with each other, we do not use contraceptives because, you know, been together so long and things, and we trust each other. I've been with some other people that I should have had a condom on the whole damn time. But I feel like that's not the situation here. So we don't, use protection with each other. If ever we happen to find ourselves at the Freaknik, it's a full space suit. Every layer and possible thing, condom and every other thing that you could think of. And not even just to protect against HIV, just like general hygiene and health of like everything.
And other STDs.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Because there's other things.
There are
besides.
we're talking about HIV, but let's not pretend like
There's not other stuff.
there's other stuff.
Yeah. So definitely, anything extracurricular is very, very safe always.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I was gonna say, as far as how HIV helped navigate, like how I acted sexually, I will say, me personally, I was very, for lack of a better word, reckless.
Gotcha.
Even despite knowing this family member's HIV status and them, like passing from complications from it and all that, it wasn't until my first HIV scare that like I officially was like, okay, this is a thing. You need to be getting tested. You need to be taking precautions. You need to be doing this and that. And I hate that like it took that to scare that into me. I feel like with my history, I should have already been there. But I got there. That's the best thing, I guess.
You definitely be surprised the number of people who have that experience. Like HIV, what?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't become a real thing until they have their own scare.
Yeah.
Definitely my story as well. It's just one of those things that you just know ain't gonna happen to you specifically.
Yeah.
So I wasn't super big on protection. I hate how that feels, and you know what I mean. Until my first like scare, not like scare like you mess with a dude and his ex call your phone like, well, you probably got HIV. Like, not that kind of scare, like a for real scare. Was that too messy?
No, I'm here for that. I'm here for those shenanigans.
Yes.
The first time I really had to come to the table, like, okay, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? It was definitely a matter of, from that point on, just being safe and protecting myself. And if I messed up and bought the wrong kind of condom and I can't feel it, well, it's just messed up for the night because I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not compromising that safety for myself. And, yeah.
Thoroughly understand that. I remember so like I said, I would say pre-HIV, it was just the trust factor. Just taking somebody's word for it.
Yeah.
You had a conversation,
Can we talk about how like that conversation don't happen? Like I'm going to speak to 21, 22-year-old Tommy.
Come on to talk
that
about
conversation just did not happen, especially if you went down to Miss Max and had one too many to drink and had you.
And just flowing.
And how much do you think that the negative stigmas that we tie to it work in the opposite effect, where it's like you think somebody that has HIV looks like this, so when you see somebody and it's like, oh, he too thick, I know he ain't got it, he's healthy. You know what I mean? And you think like that, oh, his lips wouldn't be that juicy if he had HIV. And then you just, you know what I mean? You try to tell yourself,
Oh, he's the finest of them all.
Exactly.
Baby, that body.
It
Nah.
wouldn't be him. It probably wouldn't be him. You know? Yeah. I think that's a big part of it too, because you tell yourself that if they have it, they look like a zombie and you know all this other stuff. And
Baby, I'm a witness. They can walk around here looking like a rapper,
Can.
a bodybuilding rapper,
Can.
and have it,
Yeah.
and not even let you know.
Yeah.
Facts.
Facts.
These are big facts.
It doesn't have a particular look to it. I think that's the big. Somebody can look like they ain't got it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And then other people can, if they're not managing their health. There can be some signs, but you just don't know. Because there aren't any individualized symptoms that belong strictly to HIV.
Right. Everything that could symptomatically be telling of an HIV diagnosis could also potentially be a symptom of something else.
Right.
You got the flu-like symptoms. You could potentially have rashes. You could all of these things exist as symptoms for other things. So there is nothing that is like a tell-all sign of HIV specifically. So
when I first found out that I had like stomach issues, I've been having like stomach pains for like a while, and I went to the hospital, and of course, because I told them I'd have sex with men and blah blah blah. The first thing they did was give me an HIV test. And I remember being so scared because my mom was with me, and I was like, I'm in this hospital. I don't know what this test is about to say. I don't know what any of this is about to say, but I just hope and pray to God that they'll tell me I have HIV when my mom is sitting in the room.
Yes,
please. But yeah, I that's like, I feel like that speaks to that, because like I wasn't having any specific symptoms to one thing, but the first thing they did was test me for HIV.
Yep. That is, listen, that may have been a benefit that mom was with you, because that wasn't my story. I was in the room by myself, and the doctor came in and shared the news just as stark as could be. It was super dry, gave it to me. Your results came back. You tested positive for HIV. You're going to want to talk to the case manager. You want to talk to the case manager so that you can get into care, because you're going to want to get into care. And turned around and walked back out the room.
Why is that? Yeah, and we've talked about this.
Like the similarities of the experience
between our experiences, because the doctor came in, didn't even close the door for me. Didn't close, stood in the doorway. Your test result came back positive.
What?
I'm going to send the nurse in with a referral and send you on your way. So it's like, it's amazing to me that two black men diagnosed 3 years apart.
3 years apart.
Had very similar experiences when it comes, and I don't know if that speaks to the level of competency or cultural competency for doctors or what.
But to hell with that. We're not even talking about cultural competency. We're talking about general bedside manner. We're talking about the ability to share life-altering medical information with the patient,
doctor-patient,
with some grace, with some empathy.
Yeah.
Anyway, that just got my blood boiling. So we have had discussions. We're gonna get ready to wrap this thing up. Yes. We have had discussions around ways that we've tried to protect ourselves. I would like to discuss just a piece of how important has testing been for you all on a consistent basis? Because I think that when we're talking about like those that are not living with HIV, we talk about the importance of testing and how important it is, like especially for couples and those that are going to engage with each other on any level, like the importance of knowing your status and things of that sort. What has do you feel as though the amount of testing you have engaged in, A, has it changed over the years based on various circumstances, and B, do you find it to be adequate for where you are in life right now?
I'll be the first to answer that. I still get checked. I still get tested. You can ask my net provider who tests me, but I want to call them.
That is medical information that we cannot disclose.
Or whatever. So I gotta get that done on a regular, but no, because it has been installed in me at a young age to get tested, to protect yourself, to be aware of what life choices you do make can actually affect you down the road. I still get tested, like for real, all bull crap aside. I mean, it's very important, regardless of if you're in a relationship or I would prefer to go get it done together. You know what I'm saying? But considering that I already know, you know, but I still go get tested individually. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, because it's very important. It's very just like a woman getting a pap done. It's like a man going to get tested and going to get checked out to me. I mean, it's something I take very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, as you should. As a matter of fact, 4 times a year is the recommended.
Absolutely.
Four times a year, especially if you are a man who has sex with other men, same gender loving, whatever the case, however you categorize yourself, you should be going to get tested at least 4 times a year.
Yeah. Anybody else care? How you feel about your testing regimen?
Yeah, I went from 0
Gotcha.
testing when something is burning or
Listen.
you know, to definitely like, well, again, we don't like go to the, you know, we don't get tested every week because we're in a relationship.
Right.
But yeah, if anything happens, if anything crazy happens, if we end up at market days, if you know, any of those types of things, it's a test right after.
Yeah.
If I get touched on the shoulder in the club, I'm gonna go ahead and just get a test.
Just go and get it. Let's just go and get a test.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You know, all they can tell you is something that's already there.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
right.
you might as well just go look and see.
That's the piece.
Yeah.
All they can tell you is
Yeah.
something that's already there. That's a worker.
I will say for me, testing, much like my care of HIV in the beginning, was very lackadaisical. Nap used to come to RuPaul nights, and they would give if you did an HIV test, they would give you a free drink.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that was my first ever HIV test.
Got it. Listen,
Right now, we're about to make that come
which speaks to some motivating factors for testing.
So that was my,
And I remember that when I first moved here.
Yeah.
I do.
We have to bring that back. I like that.
that was my main motivation back then to get tested, was to get my free drink.
Hey.
But it's
Now we
since
have it
changed.
recorded.
It's on the record. It's on the record. Huh? Fonte, talk to us. How you feel about your testing practices? You feel like it's enough? Not enough? Too much?
Would you do it for a free drink?
He would definitely.
Yeah.
Get a test for a free drink. I'm just saying. But
I'm not a drinker like that.
okay. All right.
Maybe for the free.
But maybe for the free drink.
Free in the work. But yes, I honestly think as a young adult, I didn't really start getting into testing until I had experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly think don't let your job stop you. Don't let anybody stop you. Go. Don't even, if your partner don't want to go, you still go. You don't need your partner to go.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think that's my
word.
biggest issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we at that sweet spot now.
At the sweet spot.
Where we can wrap it up. I think before we do, I just want to thank everybody for watching, whether you watched a handful of episodes or all of the episodes. The exciting news is that we will be back for season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2. Look for that in February 2021. But yes,
Audience.
because we, you know, it was. Baby best but thought of.
The next thing is we're never filming with friends again. But go ahead.
Never filming with friends again because this was challenging. No, I love y'all. I love y'all. But I do want to thank you all for joining us today.
Yeah.
And I think we can send the people off the right way with a toast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got a tradition around these parts that we toast and tell the people that we want them to have the day that they want people living with HIV to have.
Yeah.